Well, hey there team, and welcome back to the channel, and welcome to, of all things, Battlestar Galactica Deadlock. So this is a little bit of a blast from the past, but it's been rolling around in my head. I wanted to revisit it. It's published under the Slytherin banner, and it's developed by Black Lab Games, which I believe are a bunch of Aussies, actually. And their most recent release, which is Battle Sector, the Warhammer game, is one that actually really grew on me. I went in, let's say, a bit skeptical, because Warhammer games can be very hit and miss these days, but I will say if you're interested, you should actually check it out. Yeah, it's absolutely a fantastic game. It's a great follow-up to this, but it did remind me of this, and this is a fantastic game in and of itself. So I think 2017 is when it came out, but you can see up the top corner here, there's about a bazillion DLCs, lots of, I think, 2 seasons worth of overarching plot, which is actually really quite interesting. I've only gotten so far personally, but of all people, my housemate, I got into this, and he played the living crap out of it, and he sort of would keep me up to date with where he's at, and it's just so fascinating. It's so well done, and we've been playing a bit of Carrier Command as well, and this kind of reminds me of it a little bit, sort of fleet battles a la, well, no, not a la, but except that it's in space. So what is this? It's obviously based on the Battlestar Galactica remake, which, when was that? 2004 or something like that. Still a great show to watch. You should check it out if you're a sci-fi nerd and you haven't seen it yet. But essentially, it's a bit of a prequel to that, deals with the sort of Cylon Civil War. It should cover all that story. It's very much turn-based strategy in that you plot the paths and actions of all your ships, big and small, and then you press go, and the game will play out in like a 10-second increment where your opponent's moves will also happen as well. So it's very much like, I think, We Go is how they sort of pronounce it now. It's not like I go, you go. It's basically we lock in our moves, we hit go, and it executes together. The battles can be very long because of this fiddly nature of maneuvering all classes of ships in three-dimensional space, and they have all sorts of, you have fighters and flak guns and rangers to figure out, missiles. There's a lot of moving parts, so it can be very long in the tooth, but it's absolutely worth it. And in between missions, there is an overarching sort of campaign mission map which changes radically depending on the DLC that you're playing, where you queue up shipyards to develop research and build more ships. I've looked at it before. I love it to death. Like I said, it's not exactly super contemporary at the moment, but I guess because their second release came out, I thought I'd at least put this out on the radar. We've got a lot of new people on the channel. Maybe you've never heard of this before. Anyway, let's give it a bloody go. Now, I think if I were to skip the tutorial, you actually skip some story. So if I go next, I think Commander, funnily enough, it holds the click there, but Commander is the standard Battlestar Galactica experience, which is so weird that it's not automatically ticked. So we'll just go on Commander. We'll go persistent damage. Now, if we try and disable the tutorial, yeah, I believe it gives you a warning. First 4 campaign missions, including associated story content. We won't skip it because it's been a hot second since I've played this. Crew veterancy and all that, so there is this permanency between missions, and you can establish multiple fleets and dispatch them where you need to go to deal with the problems that are going on, but I guess let's go. Let's see how it's received. We'll turn this into a longer playthrough if people enjoy this.
We would never see war of that scale again. Peace would reign in our lifetime and the lifetimes of our children.
Yes.
They could not have predicted the Cylon Rebellion less than 30 years later. The worst conflict in colonial history. We are at a stalemate. No foothold gained that isn't lost again within weeks.
So the Cylons are a robot caste system
Was supposed to be
that crack the sads, basically.
The largest, most powerful Battlestars ever created. Each of the 12 colonies were promised one in return for signing the Articles of Colonization.
Right. So big bloody ship, basically. 12 colonies, there's 12 planets that represent all the humans colonizing together, based in this sort of weird sci-fi world. And that's what she was saying.
Galactica was Caprica's crowning glory. It went missing. 2 weeks after deployment.
Which is interesting because Galactica, that is the Galactica from the
Athena,
TV series,
the 5th ship to be
set
completed,
later.
belongs to Pycon. We were days away from delivering it when we heard the news. Pycon's capital cities were devastated by Cylon assault fleets. Among them, our own Colonial Fleet headquarters. There was no chance to intervene. Command of Colonial Fleet has fallen to Rear Admiral Kane. Our mobile shipyard, Daedalus, has become the ad hoc fleet headquarters. As Kane's XO aboard Daedalus, you have been promoted to Operations Commander of the entire Colonial Fleet. Kane intends immediate retaliation for the attack on Pycon. The war room awaits your arrival, Commander.
So there you go, that sort of brings you up to speed broadly, even if you're not across all the lore. And to be honest, outside of the remake TV series, I don't know a whole lot. I'm not really super across the 70s stuff, but this sort of happens in between the two. The remake actually is sort of, while it's a spiritual successor, it's got a lot of throwback characters. It is still a sequel series, kind of.
Independent jump until the fuel lines have stabilized. Kane's orders are to
I mean,
jump Daedalus
insofar as like
to Pycon,
World War
with the
II's a
Battlestar
sequel to
Athena
World War
attached
One.
ASAP.
Happens like
That
30
means
years
you have to
later or
clear the
something.
Scouts here or risk telegraphing our movements to the entire Cylon fleet. I'll prep the deck crews for the jump while you deal with the toasters. Good hunting, Commander.
Sure. Yeah, so actually, on that, this might technically be sort of the events from the first series from the 70s. I'm not sure, to be perfectly honest. Again, I only know what I know. But yeah, essentially, the Cylons have cracked the bloody sads. They're sick of being slave robots. They've developed a pseudo-sentience, basically. They've had a sudden strike rebellion. They've taken out fleet headquarters, which I find kind of realistic. Like, I mean, I wouldn't wish this to happen in modern times, but if you were planning to really go at your enemy seriously, you would probably attempt to do these sort of things. Try and covertly set up as much of a fast strike and debilitate the enemy as quickly as possible. So that's why we're in this mobile shipyard, because it is, as they said, the ad hoc command position, and we've got this admiral that's linked in with us. So we're not technically in charge, but we're the XO. Operationally, we're sort of running things, but we're kind of 2IC, I suppose, to the Grand Poobah Admiral chick that runs this. So anyway, you got to go straight into it. But this is the world map, right? And these are all the sort of different colonies floating around. I think some of them might just be empty planets. But yeah, basically you're zipping around trying to plug all the holes, and because they can sort of just warp jump straight in. But I guess we just proceed. Yeah, it's like I said, there is a bit of backstory. If you see this and you find it interesting, do not play it just because you're not across Battlestar. That's not a good enough excuse. This is just good sci-fi ship battles, regardless. Okay, full speed towards the enemy. So what you do is basically we grab this. This is how you move. We put them out there, and then you can manipulate it. So even though there is a sort of a three-dimensional, it does play out on this flat axis, right? You don't really go upside down. Like there is sort of a very much fixed plane, I suppose is what I'm trying to say. We won't try and get ahead of ourselves. We'll just do what the chick tells us to do. Map? You know, I can't even touch my map, but I think that's the only enemy there. One thing I will say, because of the way that the visuals come up, it can be tough to see the enemy, and the UI is like, it's trying to be thematic with the series, probably the weakest part of the game. Like, okay, it looks cool, but it's not ultra functional. It's kind of a bit of an eyesore, to be honest. Anyway, you go end turn, and off they bloody go.
To automatically target and fire on any hostiles that move within range.
And there's our ship there as well.
Will be less accurate the smaller or further away their target is. You can access a ship's fire control and check on its firing solutions for yourself.
Yeah, right. So we grab on the ship and you hit spacebar, it brings up its little sub menu. Got the turrets there. You can change your priority between, say, like capitals, closest, fighters, that sort of thing. You can focus fire as they're teaching us. Essentially, because if you press backspace, It brings up your fire arcs, right? Which again aren't very self-explanatory. Like, is this best range? Is that best range? Why is that red and not green? You know, but if you had multiple targets in here, you can designate the one that gets the king's share of love, basically. What we might do is, will it let me do boosts? It won't. Well, we'll just continue to go toward this dude and end turn.
Solution updated. Target acquisition maintained.
There you go, now they're rattling off. Every ship has different armaments, like you have ones with kind of broadsides as well, so they're going to have a preferred facing. And there are a lot of ships. I've got all the DLC installed, but there's a lot of cool stuff that they added as well.
For further intelligence.
Alright, so you can click on these.
These Cylon corvettes won't hold up to sustained fire. Focus your turrets on one side to punch through their armor and destroy the hull.
So you can see that there.
They also have long-range guided munitions, useful for softening a target before closing in for the kill.
So the hull won't actually tick down until you crack through a side, and generally speaking, you're going to want to maneuver your facing. Now, I know she said punch through one side if you can help it. I generally will just brute force the enemy. If they want to keep rotating, I'll just keep pounding them, basically. Now, they did say click here. We can get the missiles going. Compress space to bring it up, and we'll do that because that's what they're teaching us to do. But you could just as easily, you can see there's a hotkey down here, so you can press Z and send that as well. Alright, now let's pull this in here, and then we'll get you out that way. Oh, I like that. That looks nice. Oh, there you go, the missiles. They've got some of them. Oh no, am I just about to friendly fire myself? Oh, well, hey, you know what? I'm leaving that in. That was a rookie error. But it's good to know that you gotta watch your sight lines.
They may have system damage that's been overlooked.
It is tough to tell though, because those missiles just came straight out there. But you could even see when he fired them, they arc out the front sometimes. So, I mean, not that I'm trying to make excuses. It's done, but I would have just as much thought that they'd fire out the front and curve around, to be honest. So that's interesting, but this will come with time and practice, basically. Now, we do have aft guns as well. I wonder if we do the spacebar thing that they were teaching us. Oh, we have to repair subsystems, do we? Never mind.
Those ships to hotfix what they can.
Yeah.
I'll see to their comprehensive repair once you've finished with your engagement.
Now, I don't usually use that spacebar menu because down here, see, you can just click it there.
On it, Commander.
If you got damage in the tech bay, right? Yeah, what I was curious about, will you let me go to the turret menu now? Because if you mouse over it, it'll tell you. Front, back, accuracy medium, low, damage. Okay, so fire rate very high. So a little bit more damage from the rear gun. They're actually quite different. Light turret and corvette cannon. But I suppose what I'm sort of getting at is if I could try and maneuver in such a way to bring both my systems to bear at the same time, I don't really see that as a bad thing, if you know what I mean. Let's have a look at this bloke. Excuse me, and we'll queue up the tech bay for repair also. You can see
Firing on target.
getting slowly chipped away out there.
Subsystem repairs are complete.
Now you got to be careful repairing your systems. For example, the enemy, and they'll probably show us in this tutorial, the enemy will actively hack your systems. It's a big Cylon thing. It's part of the in-world lore as well. You know, that's sort of one of the, without giving too much away about the show, even though it's bloody over a decade old. Or is it? Maybe not quite. But my point is, oh no, absolutely it is. Sorry, I forget what time bloody we are in. Oh my goodness. But a big part of the way that they exploit is through viruses propagating through, and you know, trying to break through firewalls and that sort of thing. So the way to deal with them is to go way more sort of primitive and have your computer systems cordoned off as much as possible. And that manifests in this game. They hack a lot. But if you wanted to take your fire control system, which is literally your firing system, if you wanted to repair it, it has to take it offline to do it. So repairing's all good and well, but quite often it will disable the part of a ship in order to be repaired. So you got to go, well, do I fire at half strength or do I take a turn to try and repair it back up? Anyway, we'll pull the map up. You can see there we got our little blips. This is very much the TV show, sort of all that sound effect and that. Same thing. Let's see if I can maybe do something like that.
On it, Commander.
You know? Now what you can do is you can change the ship's disposition towards attack or defense, and that will stack certain systems accordingly. We'll just put it onto attack. You can see it messes with your maneuverability, but it will increase our sort of output, essentially. Let's keep sort of haranguing this bloke. And again, we'll just jam it into full attack mode because we're doing pretty well, I think. Keep thumping away. There you go. So his rear's been taken out. That would have been mostly from the missiles. Geez, they're pretty close to a collision course there, aren't they? And you can even see like the front cannon seems to be placed underneath the structure. So you can actually, if you don't pay attention to your ships, say if you were to put one above and front, you're going to get into a problem where they won't actually be able to fire. So familiarizing yourself with all the different ship maker models is probably a big deal. Again, I'm rusty as buggery, so I can't be 100% sure. So let's continue to bully that other ship. Might take this opportunity to sort of zip past him. May even start turning. You know what, we'll balance this out so we've just got a little bit more of a turning arc. Yeah, we don't want to... Let's stay up high. We don't want to risk... We don't know what he's up to be honest, so... And just in case he decided to get going. Oh, look at that. He's taking those rear hits. See, it's going straight into hull. There you go. He maneuvered right around. Wasn't expecting that at all. Missiles are going to be a thing now, so let's have a think about this, because I think if you click on them you can see their cooldown as well, right? So they are going to dump missiles, and the AI in this, it's very cutthroat, which is kind of cool because it's sort of ultimately you are fighting an AI. What comes to mind is if you're protecting like escort ships and that, this game will it will ignore your entire army to dive on those ships if you're not looking after them properly. So in this situation, I can almost guarantee, given that we do have some big weak points on this, the left and right hull is already sort of cracked. This one's kind of solid. They're both going to send their missiles at this dude. I can almost guarantee it. So what's something we could do to try and keep out of that? Well, I mean, left and right is pretty rough. Maybe we attempt to get defenses up and maybe even, I don't know, try and maneuver in such a way to maybe, oh, hang on, we can probably do do like a loop. You know what I mean? Try and put your front and rear facing on them, and we'll dump missiles on him. In this particular case, I might actually send the missiles there. Let's do something like that. But yeah, they will bully my ship that's already weak.
Missiles incoming.
Oh, never mind. Look at that. Send them at the close target. Well, there you go. I think, look at that. That's good maneuvers, though. We've managed to take it in the rear like a gentleman. This dude's probably... Oh, he hasn't been hit by the missiles yet. His hull's getting down. You can't actually repair any of that armor, so you just got to do your best. Top, you say. Okay, we're on the same sort of attitude. Maybe we do something like that, right? Now, this dude's done alright, actually. We'll boost back up to attack and might continue to just bully this bloke because we're in close. Even though the other ones are sort of weaker, I think we could do some damage on this. Yeah, look at that.
We're gonna hammer these frackers till they can't get back up.
Yeah, so these rear cannons aren't really doing anything. I think you can actually see them on the top and the front cannon under the bottom. So that's something you need to think about with your maneuvering. In fact, we'll do a drive-by here.
Yes, sir.
So we should be able to sweep through with the front. And let's bring this guy about. If you double-click boost like that, you can do a bit of a reset. We'll do something like that. I think that might be the go.
Target acquisition is screwed. Give me manual controls now.
Now, where's the other bloke doing? He's coming about. So we're kind of in a perfect position with this bloke here. Let's get that attack up and maybe just stay on that sort of line because he's going to sweep under there. This dude. Yeah, again, maybe we'll try and get a tighter turn.
Yes, sir.
Oh yeah, that looks promising. God, it'd be good if you landed the rounds, mate. Oh, there we go.
Switching gun to manual.
Oh look, he's zipped around underneath. How's he going out there? Tin hull. So we might continue. Oh, here we go. Missile City. I think we just dump on this dude. What do you reckon? Okay, yeah, send them along. In fact, actually, let's get out there and start engaging that bloke. We'll try and take the high ground, given our turret placement. So this is only one of the tutorial levels, so you see what I mean about how
Target is 45/62.
I might take that in the bottom technically. Oh, look at that. That's not bad. That's actually, we've done well there. He's bloody cactus. Engineering, look at this. We've actually done really well to distribute so much damage across the hull, across the armor plating.
So say we all.
So say we all.
Yes, Commander.
Let's get this guy maneuvering. There we go.
Manticore is taking damage.
Oh, it's gonna pop, he's gonna pop for sure. There you go. Cool. So these ships are like small as anything. You get some monster ships later on, and then it records the replay and it plays it back in the sort of eclectic zoom shaky cam that is kind of a cornerstone to the ship battles of the TV series. So if you're familiar, this is very much paying homage to that styling.
Position updated. Target acquisition maintained.
It's not bad actually, especially with the bigger battles. It's a lot of fun to watch these things. I mean, I don't know if I'll necessarily watch them every time, but it's very clever. Like, clearly a good example of the guys handling the property having big love for the television show as well.
Firing on target.
Yeah, get him. And then so you get battle stars. They get base stars, which are their giant monster ships. You also get little fighter squadrons and that sort of stuff. Raptors to deliver strike teams and boarding parties, that sort of thing. Oh, look at him drifting away. You can have your little fighter craft. If you've got enough space between you and the enemy, they can actually shoot the missiles down quite effectively, or you can set up a flak field to try and bring them down. So,
Hammer these frackers till they can't get
Like I
back
said,
up.
it's one of those things. We'll see how it goes on the channel and what you guys reckon. And if this is, received well, I'm very happy to turn it into a bit of a series. But it is quite long form and very slow burn, right? It will take a few episodes before you really get into the meat of it. But as I said, and I could be off on this, but given the interest that's sprung up around Carrier Command, for example, maybe we do have a bit of an audience here that has a bit more of a taste for the longer form,
Target is 45562.
So you can see this is only a small battle with 4 ships, right? This replay is going on for a while. As you can imagine, some of the humongous fleet battles. I covered a lot of the DLCs that would release, and you could start them halfway through. It's much like a game where you pick up a sequel and it gives you a powerful character halfway through a story arc. So that's how the DLC was. And so it would put me in charge of humongous fleets of a shitload of awesome stuff going on. But those battles can take multiple episodes as well. So I think this is a good sort of setup to give you an idea. Like I said, it's not exactly brand new, but it is relevant given Battle Sector coming out. You can see these are all the different colonies as well, and these are their attitudes, as I understand, toward you. What was it? The document they called? But it's like the rights of colonization or whatever. Basically, the colonies are having a lot of political infighting. There is DLC that expands on that, so you have to do quorum, because that's sort of the political system is under quorum. You do missions for the different, basically, sectors. So if you don't keep them happy, they will drop out. So it's sort of like, I guess, the XCOM funding meta game, where if you don't look after all the different parts of the sort of the pact that are funding your operation, they will withdraw funding and just go their own way. So this sort of has the same thing. So you have to play politics a little bit with who you're going to protect and when and to what degree. So there's a lot of stuff going on here. Yeah, that's basically it. Anyway, so but you can see now it plays in the overworld maps. It sort of plays out like a Total War Warhammer, I suppose. Not 1-to-1, but you have the macro game and the micro game, I suppose. It's probably one way of putting it. Alright, anyway, that's enough. Let me know. Give me some feedback. Let me know what you reckon of it. Have you played this before? Maybe you didn't know about this and I put it on your radar. I feel like there will be overlap with this, with some of the stuff that's been gaining a bit of traction on the channel recently. So, hey, I thought I'd do my part and taste make a bit and put this out there. Who knows? It's not brand new. This might blow up in a burning, fiery mess. But at least we'll put it out there and get some feelers and see. Make yourself heard and known if you'd like to see some more episodes. Otherwise, we might just leave it there for the time being, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.